Good morning, everybody. It is Friday, March 29th, 2024. It's time for Bible Reading Fellowship. We're going to pick up our reading this morning in Proverbs chapter 10. Proverbs 10, reading out of the Legacy Standard Bible, the LSB. If you do not have your own copy of this translation, you can open up a second tab on your computer. Keep this one open. And in the search bar, type read.lsbible.org, read.lsbible.org. And when that page opens up, type Proverbs, this time plural, Proverbs 10 in the search window. Hit enter. That'll bring up the text. Follow along as we read. And when we get to the end of the chapter or the bottom of the screen, just click on the right arrow. And that will move you right along to chapter 11. Maria, good morning. Sarah, good morning. Peter, good morning. Got a link to share with you folks. A wonderful conversation I had yesterday out at the University of Iowa with a young student there, Jehovah's Witness, by the name of Adrian. I've had a number of conversations with Jehovah's Witnesses over the years, some really good and others not so good. And this was certainly one of the better ones. Adrian was a very pleasant young man, and his friend Jake, who came to faith in Christ just earlier this year, came up and joined the conversation. So, oh yeah, Josh, good. I'm glad you like those. Videos. Yeah. Russell Hunter does a good job in articulating the abolitionist position. He's a very educated man. He's got his master's in philosophy and history, and few know the abolitionist history, slavery abolition history probably better than him. Very few, and he's matured greatly over the last decade or so, and yeah, he does a good job. So again, that link I just posted is of a conversation I had with a young man named Adrian. Had a number of conversations yesterday. Ethan, Grace, Josh, Jake, Skylar, Yadel, number of wonderful conversations. I was out there holding. I had my cross set up and a stop for prayer, free Bibles, and holding a sign that says God sees abortion as murder. You need Jesus, and the people who actually stopped to engage were all in agreement with me. The ones who did not agree yesterday cursed or did a drive-by middle finger or something like that as they were walking by, and those were all women, of course. The middle fingers all came from young ladies. So I hope that's about a half-hour conversation. I hope you find that encouraging. Got back here around noon and worked on the video for a bit. So Mrs. Miano is over at the Johnson house. I don't know if we'll be. She's babysitting our granddaughter, so Michelle can go to an appointment this morning. Good morning, Chris. Pardon me just a moment. All right. Well, I think we're going to jump into it today. Let's begin our time in a word of prayer, and we'll get started. Treasure Hunter, what's your first name and where are you from? Alan from Chicago. Oh, well, you're not too far away, just a few hours from us here in Davenport, Iowa. Yeah, that's really common. Uh, Alan, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I've faced those same challenges. Really, the only answer to that is to continue to be faithful and continue to exhort and encourage the members of your church with testimonies of your own ministry out on the streets. Encourage them to engage in evangelism according to the personality God has given them and the context of life where He's placed them. Not everyone can go out to the streets and do outreach in that way, but everybody can be engaged in evangelism. So make sure that in your encouragement uh, to people to do outreach, as you say, make sure not to minimize any evangelism they are doing as they are going in the context of their life. The power of evangelism is not in the methodology, but in the message. And so keep that in mind, and just be an encourager. Give people continue to give people opportunities. Let them know that they could just come out and watch if they want to. Some people are nervous about coming out because they think they're going to get thrown into the deep end of the pool. Say, hey, just come out and fellowship with me. It gets lonely out there. I'd love to have some company while I'm out there talking to people or holding a sign, and just keep plugging away, persevere. So, all right, let's begin our time in a word of prayer, and we'll get started. Father, thank you for this day, Father. Indeed, thank you for this day. Thank you for your grace and your mercy in our lives, including grace and mercy you've shown us through the night, Father. Lord, I pray, Father, that you, even as early as it is this morning, that you would quiet our hearts and our minds. Lord, that we would be able to focus on what we're reading today in this book of wisdom in the Proverbs. Every verse, every stanza is just chock full of wisdom from above. We have much to learn in every verse as we read. I pray, Father, that you would help us, Lord, to do that, to not only learn what your word tells us, but to apply it, to live by faith and not by sight, while at the same time striving to be obedient to what your word tells us. Father, for those of us who are in Christ, we do love you. And even though we, starting with me, so often fail to show that love by our disobedience, um, Father, we do love you, and we can only love you because you first loved us. So please, Father, I pray that you would use your word this morning to minister to us, to admonish us, to teach us, to encourage us. And Lord, that you would receive our reading of your word as a small sacrifice of praise and as an act of worship, for you alone are worthy. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Morning devotion from Spurgeon for March 29th is drawn from Hebrews 5:8, which reads, though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered. Spurgeon writes, we are told that the captain of our salvation was made perfect through suffering. Therefore, we who are sinful and who are far from being perfect must not wonder if we are called to pass through suffering too. Shall the head be crowned with thorns, and shall the other members of the body be rocked upon the dainty lap of ease? Must Christ pass through seas of his own blood to win the crown, and are we to walk to heaven dry shod in silver slippers? No. Our Master's experience teaches us that suffering is necessary, and the true born child of God would not escape it if he might. There is one very comforting thought in the fact of Christ being made perfect through suffering. It is that he can have complete sympathy with us. He is not an high priest that cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities. In this sympathy of Christ, we find a sustaining power. One of the early martyrs said, I can bear it all, for Jesus suffered, and he suffers in me now. He sympathizes with me, and this makes me strong. Believer, lay hold of this thought. In all times of agony, let the thought of Jesus strengthen you as you follow in his steps. Find a sweet support in his sympathy, and remember that to suffer is an honorable thing, to suffer for Christ's glory. The apostles rejoiced that they were counted worthy to do this, just so far as the Lord shall give us grace to suffer for Christ, to suffer with Christ. Just so far does he honor us. The jewels of a Christian are his afflictions. The regalia of the kings, whom God hath anointed, are their troubles, their sorrows, and their griefs. Let us not therefore shun being honored. Let us not turn aside from being exalted. Griefs exalt us, and troubles lift us up. If we suffer, we shall also reign with him. Excuse me just a second here. Just asking Mrs. Miano if she's watching the broadcast with little Bethany. I think that was part of the plan this morning. All right. Turning our attention now to Proverbs chapter 10. Again, if you happen to be new with us, we are reading out of the Legacy Standard Bible, the LSB. Proverbs chapter 10, God's word tells us this. The Proverbs of Solomon: a wise son makes a father glad, but a foolish son is a grief to his mother. Treasures gained by wickedness do not profit, but righteousness delivers from death. Yahweh will not allow the soul of the righteous to hunger, but he will push away the craving of the wicked. Poor is he who works with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. He who gathers in summer is a son who acts insightfully, but he who sleeps in harvest is a son who acts shamefully. Blessings are on the head of the righteous, but the mouth of the wicked covers up violence. The remembrance of the righteous is blessed, but the name of the wicked will rot. The wise of heart will receive commandments, but an ignorant fool of loose lips will be ruined. He who walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be found out. He who winks the eye causes pain, and an ignorant fool of loose lips will be ruined. The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked covers up violence. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all transgressions. On the lips of the one who has understanding, wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of him who lacks a heart of wisdom. Wise men store up knowledge, but the mouth of the ignorant fool draws ruin near. The rich man's wealth is his strong city, the ruin of the poor is their poverty. The wages of the righteous is life, the income of the wicked punishment. He is on the path of life who keeps discipline, but he who forsakes reproof makes himself wander about. He who covers up hatred has lying lips, and he who spreads a bad report is a fool. When there are many words, transgression is unavoidable, but he who holds back his lips has insight. The tongue of the righteous is as choice silver, the heart of the wicked is worth little. The lips of the righteous feed many, but ignorant fools die for lack of a heart of wisdom. It is the blessing of Yahweh that makes rich, and he adds no pain with it. Doing wickedness is like laughing to a fool, and so is wisdom to a man of discernment. What the wicked dread will come upon him, but the desire of the righteous will be granted. When the whirlwind passes, the wicked is no more, but the righteous has an everlasting foundation. Like vinegar to the teeth and like smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to those who send him. The fear of Yahweh prolongs life, but the years of the wicked will be shortened. The expectation of the righteous is gladness, but the hope of the wicked will perish. The way of Yahweh is a stronghold to the one with integrity, but ruin to workers of iniquity. The righteous will never be shaken, but the wicked will not dwell in the land. The mouth of the righteous bears wisdom, but the tongue of perversions will be cut out. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked what is perverse. Chapter 11. A deceptive balance is an abomination to Yahweh, but a just weight is his delight. When arrogance comes, then comes disgrace, but with the meek is wisdom. The integrity of the upright will lead them, but the crookedness of the treacherous will destroy them. Wealth will not profit in the day of wrath, but righteousness will deliver from death. The righteousness of the blameless will make his way straight, but the wicked will fall by his own wickedness. The righteousness of the upright will deliver him, but the treacherous will be captured by their own desire. When a wicked man dies, his hope will perish, and the expectation of vigorous men perishes. The righteous is rescued from distress, but the wicked take his place. With his mouth, the godless man corrupts his neighbor, but through knowledge, the righteous will be rescued. When it goes well with the righteous, the city exults, and when the wicked perish, there is joyful shouting. By the blessing of the upright, a city is raised up, but by the mouth of the wicked, it is torn down. He who despises his neighbor lacks a heart of wisdom, but a man of discernment keeps silent. He who goes about as a slanderer reveals secrets, but he who is faithful in spirit conceals a matter. Where there is no guidance, the people fall. But in abundance of counselors, there is salvation. If one becomes a guarantor for a stranger, he will surely suffer, but he who hates striking hands in pledge is secure. A gracious woman holds fast to glory, but ruthless men hold fast to riches. The man of loving kindness deals bountifully with his soul, but the cruel man brings trouble on his flesh. The wicked earns deceptive wages, but he who sows righteousness gets a true reward. He who is steadfast in righteousness will attain to life, and he who pursues evil will bring about his own death. Those with a crooked heart are an abomination to Yahweh, but those of a blameless way are his delight. Assuredly, the evil man will not go unpunished, but the seed of the righteous will escape. As a ring of gold in a swine's snout, so is a beautiful woman who turns away from discretion. The desire of the righteous is only good, but the hope of the wicked is wrath. There is one who scatters and yet increases all the more, and there is one who holds back what is rightly due and yet results only in want. The soul that blesses will be enriched, and he who waters with himself will himself be watered. He who withholds grain, the people will curse him, but blessing will be on the head of him who sells it. He who earnestly seeks good seeks favor, but he who searches for evil, evil will come to him. He who trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like the green leaf. He who troubles his own house will inherit wind, and the ignorant fool will be a slave to the wise of heart. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he who is wise wins souls. If the righteous will be repaid in the earth, how much more the wicked and the sinner? Chapter 12. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is senseless. A good man will obtain favor from Yahweh, but a man of evil schemes he will condemn. A man will not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous will not be shaken. An excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but he who causes shame is like rottenness in his bones. The thoughts of the righteous are just, but the guidance of the wicked is deceitful. The words of the wicked lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright will deliver them. The wicked are overthrown and are no more, but the house of the righteous will stand. A man will be praised according to his insight, but one of perverse heart will be despised. Better is he who is lightly esteemed and has a servant than he who honors himself and lacks bread. A righteous man knows the value of the life of his animal, but even the compassion of the wicked is cruel. He who cultivates his land will be satisfied with bread, but he who pursues empty things lacks a heart of wisdom. The wicked man desires a stronghold of evil men, but the root of the righteous gives fruit. The snare of an evil man is in the transgression of his lips, but the righteous man will come out from distress. A man will be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth, and the good deed of a man's hand will return to him. The way of an ignorant fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man is he who listens to counsel. An ignorant fool's anger is known at once, but a prudent man conceals disgrace. He who breathes out truth declares what is right, but a false witness deceit. There is one who speaks rashly like the thrust of a sword, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Truthful lips will be established forever, but a lying tongue is only for a moment. Deceit is in the heart of those who devise evil, but counselors of peace have gladness. No misfortune befalls the righteous, but the wicked are filled with calamity. Lying lips are an abomination to Yahweh, but doers of faithfulness are his delight. A prudent man conceals knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaims folly. The hand of the diligent will rule, but the slack hand will be put to forced labor. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs it down, but a good word makes it glad. The righteous is a guide to his neighbor, but the way of the wicked makes them wander about. A slack-handed man does not roast his prey, but the wealth of a man is precious for the diligent. In the path of righteousness is life, and in its pathway there is no death. Chapter 13. A wise son accepts his father's discipline, but a scoffer does not listen to rebuke. From the fruit of a man's mouth he eats what is good, but the soul of the treacherous desires violence. The one who guards his mouth keeps his soul. The one who opens wide his lips comes to ruin. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the soul of the diligent is enriched. A righteous man hates a lying word, but a wicked man acts odiously and is humiliated. Righteousness guards the one whose way is blameless, but wickedness subverts the sinner. There is one who pretends to be rich, but has nothing. Another pretends to be poor, but has great wealth. The ransom of a man's life is his wealth, but the poor hears no rebuke. The light of the righteous is glad, but the lamp of the wicked goes out. With arrogance comes only quarreling, but with those who receive counsel is wisdom. Wealth obtained from empty effort dwindles, but the one who gathers with his hand abounds. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but desire fulfilled is a tree of life. The one who despises the word will be in debt to it, but the one who fears the commandment will be rewarded. The instruction of the wise is a fountain of life to turn aside from the snares of death. Good insight gives grace, but the way of the treacherous is unrelenting. Every prudent man acts with knowledge, but a fool spreads out folly. A wicked messenger falls into evil, but a faithful envoy brings healing. Poverty and disgrace come to him who neglects discipline, but he who keeps reproof will be honored. Desire realized is pleasant to the soul, but it is an abomination to fools to turn away from evil. He who walks with the wise will be wise, but the friend of fools will suffer harm. Evil pursues sinners, but the righteous are repaid with good. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of sinners is stored up for the righteous. Abundant food is in the fallow ground of the poor, but it is swept away by injustice. He who holds back his rod hates his son, but he who loves him disciplines him diligently. The righteous eats to the satisfaction of his soul, but the stomach of the wicked lacks. Chapter 14. The wise woman builds her house, but the woman of folly tears it down with her own hands. He who walks in his uprightness fears Yahweh, but he who is devious in his ways despises him. In the mouth of the ignorant fool is a rod of lofty pride, but the lips of the wise will keep them. Where no oxen are, the manger is clean, but much revenue comes by the strength of the ox. A faithful witness will not lie, but a false witness breathes out lies. A scoffer seeks wisdom and finds none, but knowledge is easy to one who has understanding. Leave the presence of a fool, as you have not known lips of knowledge there. The wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. Ignorant fools scoff at guilt, but among the upright there is favor. The heart knows its own bitterness, and the stranger does not share its gladness. The house of the wicked will be destroyed, but the tent of the upright will flourish. There is a way which seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Even in laughter, the heart may be in pain, and the end of joy may be grief. The one who turns back in his heart will be satisfied with his ways, but a good man will be satisfied with his. The simple believes everything, but the prudent one discerns his steps. A wise man fears and turns away from evil, but a fool gets angry and feels secure. A quick-tempered man acts in folly, and a man of evil schemes is hated. The simple inherit folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. The evil will bow down before the good, and the wicked at the gates of the righteous. The poor is hated even by his neighbor, but those who love the rich are many. He who despises his neighbor sins, but how blessed is he who is gracious to the poor. Will they not wander in error who devise evil? But loving kindness and truth will be to those who devise good. In all painful labor there is profit, but mere words from the lips lead only to want. The crown of the wise is their riches, but the folly of fools is folly. A truthful witness delivers souls, but he who breathes out lies is deceitful. In the fear of Yahweh there is strong security, and his children will have refuge. The fear of Yahweh is a fountain of life, to turn aside from the snare of death. In a multitude of people is a king's splendor, but in the dearth of people is a prince's ruin. He who is slow to anger has great discernment, but he who is quick-tempered raises up folly. A tranquil heart is life to the body, but jealousy is rottenness to the bones. He who oppresses the poor reproaches his maker, but he who is gracious to the needy honors him. The wicked is thrust down by his own evil, but the righteous takes refuge even in his death. Wisdom rests in the heart of the one who has understanding, but in the midst of fools it is merely made known. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a disgrace to any people. The king's favor is toward a servant who acts insightfully, but his fury is toward him who acts shamefully. Chapter 15. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The tongue of the wise makes knowledge look good, but the mouth of fools pours forth folly. The eyes of Yahweh are in every place, watching the evil and the good. A tongue that brings healing is a tree of life, but perversion in it breaks the spirit. An ignorant fool spurns his father's discipline, but he who keeps reproof is prudent. The house of the righteous has much treasure, but in the income of the wicked there is trouble. The lips of the wise disperse knowledge, but the hearts of fools are not so. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to Yahweh, but the prayer of the upright is his delight. The way of the wicked is an abomination to Yahweh, but he loves one, the hearts of the sons of men. A scoffer does not love who reproves him, he will not go to the wise. A glad heart makes the face look good, but when the heart is pained, the spirit is broken. The heart of the one who has understanding seeks knowledge, but the mouth of fools feeds on folly. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but a good heart has a continual feast. Better is a little with the fear of Yahweh than great treasure and turmoil with it. Better is a dish of vegetables where there is love than a fattened ox and hatred in it. A hot-tempered man stirs up strife, but the slow to anger quiets a dispute. The way of the sluggard is as a hedge of thorns, but the path of the upright is a highway. A wise son makes a father glad, but a foolish man despises his mother. Folly is gladness to him who lacks a heart of wisdom, but a man of discernment walks straight. Without consultation, plans are frustrated, but with many counselors they succeed. A man has gladness in an apt answer, and how good is a timely word. The path of life leads upward for the one who has insight, that he may turn away from Sheol below. Yahweh will tear down the house of the proud, but he will cause the boundary of the widow to stand. Evil thoughts are an abomination to Yahweh, but pleasant words are pure. He who is greedy for gain troubles his own house, but he who hates gifts of bribery will live. The heart of the righteous ponders how to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours forth evil things. Yahweh is far from the wicked, but he hears the prayer of the righteous. Bright eyes gladden the heart. A good report puts fat on the bones. He whose ear listens to the life-giving reproof will lodge among the wise. He who neglects discipline despises his soul, but he who listens to reproof acquires a heart of wisdom. The fear of Yahweh is the discipline leading to wisdom, and before glory comes humility. Chapter 16. The plans of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from Yahweh. All the ways of a man are pure in his own sight, but Yahweh weighs the motives. Commit your works to Yahweh, and your plans will be established. Yahweh has made everything for its own purpose, even the wicked for the day of evil. Everyone who is proud of heart is an abomination to Yahweh. Assuredly, he will not be unpunished. By loving kindness and truth, iniquity is atoned for, and by the fear of Yahweh, one turns away from evil. When a man's ways are pleasing to Yahweh, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. Better is a little with righteousness than great produce with injustice. The heart of man plans his way, but Yahweh directs his steps. A divine decision is in the lips of the king. His mouth should not err in judgment. A just balance and scales belong to Yahweh. All the weights of the bag are his work. It is an abomination for kings to commit wickedness, for in righteousness a throne is established. Righteous lips are the delight of kings, and he who speaks uprightly is loved. The wrath of a king is like messengers of death, but a wise man will atone for it. In the light of a king's face is life, and his favor is like a cloud with the late rain. How much better it is to acquire wisdom than fine gold, and to acquire understanding is to be chosen above silver. The highway of the upright is to turn away from evil. He who guards his way keeps his soul. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before stumbling. It is better to be humble in spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. He who considers the word will find good, and how blessed is he who trusts in Yahweh. The wise in heart will be called understanding, and sweetness of lips increases learning. Insight is a fountain of life to one who has it, but the discipline of ignorant fools is folly. The heart of the wise gives insight to his mouth and increases learning to his lips. Pleasant words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. There is a way which seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. A worker's appetite works for him, for his mouth urges him on. A vile man digs up evil, and the words on his lips are like scorching fire. A perverse man spreads strife, and a whisperer separates close companions. A man of violence entices his neighbor and leads him in a way that is not good. He who winks his eye does so to devise perverse things. He who compresses his lips brings evil to pass. Gray hair is a crown of beauty. It is found in the way of righteousness. He who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his own spirit than he who captures a city. The lot is cast into the lap, but its every judgment is from Yahweh. Chapter 17. Better is a dry morsel and tranquility with it than a house full of feasting with strife. A slave who acts insightfully will rule over a son who acts shamefully, and will share in the inheritance among brothers. The refining pot is for silver and the furnace for gold, but Yahweh tests hearts. An evildoer gives heed to lips of wickedness, a liar gives ear to a destructive tongue. He who mocks the poor reproaches his maker. He who is glad at disaster will not go unpunished. Grandchildren are the crown of old men, and the beauty of sons is their fathers. Excellent lips are not fitting for a wicked fool, even less are lying lips for a nobleman. A bride is a charm in the eyes of its owner. Wherever he turns, he prospers. He who covers a transgression seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close companions. A rebuke goes deeper into one who understands than 100 blows into a fool. A rebellious man seeks his own evil, so a cruel messenger will be sent against him. Let a man meet a bear robbed of her cubs, rather than a fool in his folly. He who returns evil for good, evil will not depart from his house. The beginning of strife is like letting out water, so abandon the dispute before it breaks out. He who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous, both of them are like an abomination to Yahweh. Why is there a price in the hand of a fool to acquire wisdom when he has no heart of wisdom? A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. A man lacking a heart of wisdom strikes his hands in pledge and becomes guarantor in the presence of his neighbor. He who loves transgression loves quarreling. He who makes his doorway high seeks destruction. He who has a crooked heart finds no good, and he who is perverted is in his tongue falls into evil. He who begets a fool does so to his grief, and the father of a wicked fool is not glad. A glad heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. A wicked man receives a bribe from the bosom to thrust aside the pains of justice. Wisdom is in the presence of the one who understands, but the eyes of a fool are on the ends of the earth. A foolish son is a vexation to his father, and bitterness to her who gave birth to him. It is also not good to punish the righteous, nor to strike the noble for their uprightness. He who holds back his words has knowledge, and he who has a cool spirit is a man of discernment. Even an ignorant fool, when he keeps silent, is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he is considered understanding. Chapter 18. How are we doing on time? I'm just motoring here. Oh, wow, we're doing great. Y'all still with? Wow, we're down to 3. Did we, what happened? Anyone else? Anyone there? Is anyone with me right now? I don't know if Maria and Bethany are with me, but if you are, love you both. But is anybody still here? Because Peter's here? Good, okay. Because we had like 7, we're 7, 8, or 9. We're down to 3, and Sarah's still here. Okay. The faithful remain. Very good. All right. Oh, okay. Was there an issue with the feed? Oh my goodness. How much did you guys miss? Or did that just happen? Did that just happen recently, or did you guys miss a lot? All right. Brief. Okay. Couple of verses. All right. Okay. All right. Chapter 18. He who separates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out in dispute against all sound wisdom. A fool does not delight in discernment, but only in revealing his own heart. Wow, that's oh yeah, that one. Wow. Okay, verse 3. When a wicked man comes, despising also comes, and with disgrace comes reproach. The words of a man's mouth are deep waters. The fountain of wisdom is a flowing brook. To show partiality to the wicked is not good, nor to thrust aside the righteous in judgment. A fool's lips come with strife, and his mouth calls for beatings. A fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are the snare of his soul. The words of a whisperer are like dainty morsels, and they go down into the innermost parts of the stomach. He also who is slack in his work is brother to him who destroys. The name of Yahweh is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and is set securely on high. A rich man's wealth is his strong city, and like a high wall, in his own delusion. Before destruction, the heart of man is haughty, but humility goes before glory. He who responds with a word before he hears, it is folly and shame to him. The spirit of a man can endure his sickness, but as for a broken spirit, who can bear it? The heart of the understanding acquires knowledge. The heart of understanding acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. A man's gift makes room for him and leads him into the presence of great men. The first to plead his cause seems right, until another comes and examines him. The cast lot puts an end to contentions and decides between the mighty ones. A brother offended is harder to win over than a strong city, and contentions are like the bars of a citadel. From the fruit of a man's mouth, his stomach will be satisfied. With the produce of his lips, he will be satisfied. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from Yahweh. The poor man speaks supplications, but the rich man answers with strong words. A man of too many friends comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Chapter 19. This is the chapter we're in now. We're almost finished with chapter 19 in our men's Bible study on Tuesday morning. And it has taken us, 4 or 5 years to get to this point in Proverbs, going through it verse by verse on Sunday or on Tuesday mornings. All right, chapter 19. Better is a poor man who walks in his integrity than he who is crooked in lips and is a fool. Also, it is not good for a person to be without knowledge, and he who hurries his footsteps sins. Folly of man subverts his way, but his heart rages against Yahweh. Wealth adds many friends, but a poor man is separated from his friend. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will not escape. Many will seek the favor of a noble man, and everyone is a friend to a man who gives gifts. All the brothers of a poor man hate him. How much more do his friends distance themselves from him? He pursues them with words, but they are no more. He who acquires a heart of wisdom loves his own soul. He who keeps discernment will find good. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will perish. Luxury is not fitting for a fool, much less for a slave to rule over princes. A man's insight makes him slow to anger, and it is his honor to overlook a transgression. The king's wrath is like the roaring of a lion, but his favor is like dew on the grass. A foolish son is destruction to his father, and the contentions of a wife are a constant dripping. House and wealth are an inheritance from fathers, but a wife who has insight is from Yahweh. Laziness casts into a deep sleep, and a slack-handed soul will suffer hunger. He who keeps the commandments keeps his soul, but he who despises his way will die. He who is gracious to a poor man lends to Yahweh, and he will repay him for his bountiful deed. Discipline your son while there is hope, and do not direct your soul to put him to death. A man of great wrath will bear the penalty, for if you deliver him, you will only have to do it again. Listen to counsel and receive discipline, that you may be wise in the end of your days. Many thoughts are in a man's heart, but it is the counsel of Yahweh that will stand. What is desirable in a man is his loving kindness, and better is a poor man than a man of falsehood. The fear of Yahweh leads to life, so that one may sleep satisfied, not visited by evil. The sluggard buries his hand in the dish, but will not even bring it back to his mouth. Strike a scoffer and the simple may become prudent, but reprove one who has understanding, and he will understand knowledge. He who assaults his father and causes his mother to flee is a son who brings shame and humiliation. Cease listening, my son, to discipline, and you will stray from the words of knowledge. A vile witness scoffs at justice, and the mouth of the wicked swallows up iniquity. Judgments are established for scoffers, and beatings for the back of fools. Chapter 20. Wine is a mocker, strong drink a brawler, and whoever is led astray by it is not wise. The terror of a king is like the roar of a lion. He who provokes him to anger sins against his own soul. It is a glory for a man to cease quarreling, but any ignorant fool will break out in dispute. The sluggard does not plow from winter on, so he begs during the harvest and has nothing. Counsel in the heart of a man is like deep water, but a man of discernment draws it out. Many a man will call out his own loving kindness, but a faithful man who can find? A righteous man who walks in his integrity, how blessed are his sons after him. A king who sits on the throne of justice disperses all evil with his eyes. Who can say, I have kept my heart pure, I am clean from my sin? Differing weights and differing measures, both of them are an abomination to Yahweh. It is by his deeds that a young man makes himself known, if his conduct is pure and right. The hearing ear and the seeing eye, Yahweh has made both of them. Do not love sleep, lest you become poor. Open your eyes, and you will be satisfied with food. Bad, bad, says the buyer, but when he goes his way, then he boasts. There is gold and an abundance of pearls, but the lips of knowledge are a more precious vessel. Take his garment when he becomes a guarantor for a stranger, and for foreigners, hold him in pledge. Bread obtained by lying is sweet to a man, but afterward his mouth will be filled with gravel. Thoughts are established by counsel, so make war by guidance. He who goes about as a slanderer reveals secrets, therefore do not associate with one of loose lips. He who curses his father or his mother, his lamp will go out in the midst of darkness. An inheritance gained hurriedly at the beginning, in the end, will not be blessed. Do not say, I will repay evil. Hope in Yahweh, and he will save you. Differing weights are an abomination to Yahweh, and a deceitful balance is not good. The steps of a man are from Yahweh. How then can man understand his way? It is a trap for a man to say rashly, it is holy, and after the vows to make inquiry. A wise king winnows the wicked and turns the threshing wheel over them. The breath of man is the lamp of Yahweh, searching all the innermost parts of his body. Loving kindness and truth will guard the king, and he upholds his throne by loving kindness. The honor of young men is their strength, and the majesty of old men is their gray hair. Stripes that wound scour away evil, and strokes reach the innermost parts of the body. Chapter 21. The king's heart is like channels of water in the hand of Yahweh. He turns it wherever he pleases. Every man's way is right in his own eyes, but Yahweh weighs the hearts. To do righteousness and justice is chosen by Yahweh over sacrifice, haughty eyes, and a proud heart. The fallow ground of the wicked are sin. The thoughts of the diligent lead surely to profit, but everyone who is hasty comes surely to poverty. Working for treasures by a lying tongue is a fleeting breath, but those who pursue death. The destruction of the wicked will drag them away, because they refuse to do justice. The way of a guilty man is perverse, but as for the pure, his work is upright. It is better to live in a corner of a roof than in a house shared with a contentious woman. The soul of the wicked craves evil, his neighbor finds no favor in his eyes. When the scoffer is punished, the simple becomes wise, and when one considers wisdom, he receives knowledge. The righteous one considers the house of the wicked, turning the wicked to ruin. He who shuts his ear to the outcry of the poor will himself also call and not be answered. A gift in secret subdues anger, and a bribe in the bosom strong wrath. To do justice is pleasure for the righteous, but is ruin for the workers of iniquity. A man who wanders from the way of insight will rest in the assembly of the dead. He who loves pleasure will become a poor man. He who loves wine and oil will not become rich. The wicked is a ransom for the righteous, and the treacherous is in the place of the upright. It is better to live in a desert land than with a contentious and vexing woman. There is desirable treasure and oil in the abode of the wise, but a foolish man swallows it up. He who pursues righteousness and loving kindness finds life, righteousness, and glory. A wise man goes up to the city of the mighty and brings down the stronghold in which they trust. He who keeps his mouth and his tongue keeps his soul from troubles. Arrogant, haughty, scoffer are his names, who acts with arrogant fury. The desire of the sluggard puts him to death, for his hands refuse to work. All day long he is insatiably craving, while the righteous gives and does not hold back. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination. How much more when he brings it with a wicked scheme? A false witness will perish, but the man who listens will speak forever. A wicked man displays a brazen face, but as for the upright, he establishes his way. There is no wisdom, there is no discernment, and there is no counsel against Yahweh. The horse is set for the day of battle, but salvation belongs to Yahweh. Let's do one more, huh? One more chapter. So that's this will be 13 full chapters in Proverbs today. So we only did 5 yesterday, so that helps make up. Chapter 22, and we'll end with this. A good name is to be chosen over great wealth. Favor is better than silver and gold. The rich and the poor meet together in this. Yahweh is the maker of them all. A prudent man sees evil and hides, but the simple pass on and are punished. The reward of humility, the fear of Yahweh, is riches, glory, and life. Thorns and snares are in the way of the crooked. He who keeps his soul will be far from them. Train up a child according to his way. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. He who sows unrighteousness will reap iniquity, and the rod of his fury will end. He who is generous will be blessed, for he gives from his food to the poor. Drive out the scoffer, and strife will go out. Even contention and disgrace will cease. He who loves purity of heart and grace on his lips, the king, is his friend. The eyes of Yahweh guard knowledge, but he subverts the words of the treacherous one. The sluggard says, "There is a lion outside. I will be killed in the streets." The mouth of strange women is a deep pit. He who is cursed of Yahweh will fall into it. Folly is bound up in the heart of a child. The rod of discipline will remove it far from him. He who oppresses the wicked to make more for himself, or who gives to the rich, will only come to lack. Incline your ear and hear the words of the wise, and set your heart on my knowledge. For it will be pleasant if you keep them within you, that they may be established on your lips, so that your trust may be in Yahweh. I have made you know today, even you. Have I not written to you excellent things of counsels and knowledge, to make you know the veracity of the words of truth, that you may respond with the words of truth to him who sent you? Do not rob the poor because he is poor, and do not crush the afflicted at the gate. For Yahweh will plead their case and rob the soul of those who rob them. Do not befriend a man of anger, and do not come along with a man of great wrath, lest you learn his ways and take on a snare against your soul. Do not be among those who strike hands in a pledge, among those who become guarantors for debts. If you have nothing with which to pay, why should he take your bed from under you? Do not move the ancient boundary which your fathers made. Do you see a man skilled in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before obscure men. All right. Yeah, I think we'll stop there. Well, you know what? One more. Huh? Let's do one more. Chapter 23. When you sit down to dine with a ruler, understand well what is before you. So you should put a knife to your throat if you are a man of appetite. Do not desire his delicacies, for it is bread of falsehood. Do not weary yourself to gain wealth because of your understanding. Cease. Do you make your eyes fly up to see it, but it is not there? But it is not there, because it certainly makes itself wings like an eagle that flies toward the heavens. Do not eat the bread of a selfish man, and do not desire his delicacies. For as he calculates in his soul, so he is. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. You will vomit up the morsel you have eaten, and you will corrupt your pleasant words. Do not speak in the hearing of a fool, for he will despise the insight of your speech. Do not move the ancient boundary, and do not come into the fields of the orphans, for their Redeemer is strong. He will plead their case against you. Bring your heart to discipline and your ears to words of knowledge. Do not withhold discipline from the child. Although you strike him with the rod, he will not die. You shall strike him with the rod and deliver his soul from Sheol. My son, if your heart is wise, my own heart also will be glad, and my inmost being will exult when your lips speak upright things. Do not let your heart be jealous of sinners, but be zealous in the fear of Yahweh always. Surely there is a future, and your hope will not be cut off. You, my son, listen and be wise, and direct your heart in the way. Do not be with heavy drinkers of wine, or with gluttonous eaters of meat. For the heavy drinker and the glutton will come to poverty, and drowsiness will clothe them with rags. Listen to your father who begot you, and do not despise your mother when she is old. Buy truth and do not sell it. Get wisdom and discipline and understanding. The father of the righteous will greatly rejoice, and he who begets a wise son will be glad in him. Let your father and your mother be glad, and let her rejoice who gave birth to you. Give your heart to me, my son, and let your eyes delight in my ways. For a harlot is a deep pit, and a foreign woman is a narrow well. Surely she lies in wait as a robber, and adds to the treacherous among men. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has contentions? Who has complaining? Who has wounds without cause? Who has redness of eyes? Those who linger long over wine, those who go to search out mixed wine. Do not look on the wine when it glistens red, when it sparkles in the cup, when it goes down smoothly. At the end, like a serpent, it bites, and like a viper, it stings. Your eyes will see strange things, and your heart will speak perverse things, and you will be like one who lies down in the heart of the sea, or like one who lies down on the top of a mast. They struck me, but I did not become ill. They beat me, but I did not know it. When shall I awake? I will seek yet another. All right. We'll stop there. That was a good morning of reading there, my friends. All right. Lord willing, we'll meet at our regular time tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central, when we will pick up in Proverbs chapter 24. Proverbs 24 will likely finish the book tomorrow, is my guess. Hope you all have a blessed day in the Lord. Hey, I would appreciate your prayers for me. Just pray. I love you guys. Hope you have a blessed day. And I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning for another edition of Bible Reading Fellowship. Have a great day.